Welcome back to the garage, everybody. Working on the old blue Willys again. We're cleaning up the engine compartment and trying to finish off all the little things in there before we start doing the wiring. So that means finish off plumbing and then all the little brackets and stuff that some sensors stay, some sensors go, that kind of thing. So where I started with that today was this over here. We've been working on this air cleaner side of the engine, and there was this evap, I think, purge solenoid here. I think this went to the charcoal sensor and all that. So I removed the factory one, and then I duplicated the little sealing snout nipple, if you will, whatever you want to call it, on the lathe, and then made this small little bracket and was able to reuse the stock hardware and hold this whole thing together. So that is now blocked off. And then the other thing on this side was trying to find a place to mount the coil and ignition module. So this is a late enough version that it is computer controlled, ignition distributor, all that. This is actually kind of a nice distributor for a flatty, because it's so low profile with these right angle spark plug orientation. So if you can imagine this engine being a normal one, these ports would be pointing straight up, and they would actually be fouling on the calcium. So this is, I believe, when I had this apart, when I was mounting the engine, you have to pull the cap off. But if you pull the cap and maybe the rotor off, you can pull the distributor out the top. It's very tight, but it does come out. So yeah, so that's probably the only way this engine fits as high in the chassis as this is. So to give some reference to this, you know, I've done all the prototyping on this right angle side draft air horn that adapts to the LS throttle body. This is just a 4.81. It was only 3 millimeters different, so I think it'll work out okay. Sensors all look the same, and then it made the cable point the right direction, so all that was very easy. But if you look at how high this is underneath the hood, for a reference, the top of the fuel injection spider port is, if you have a straight edge across that and you run that to the firewall, you can see that the top edge of that is within a 1/4 inch of being with that seam. So that's a really good reference measurement if somebody's going to try and duplicate this in the future, is that is where the powertrain or the engine is mounted in relation to the body. And that also means that with the engine set up this high in the chassis, with the modifications done to make it fit, with a 6-inch frame and a granny 4-speed. So this is a 6-inch tall frame instead of a 4-inch. So it has a little bit more section width to it, but you can get a completely flat belly with that profile, or that system. So 6-inch frame. The stock hat channels are about 3/4 of an inch to an inch, and then low hood, you know, CJ2A, CJ3A, MB, and that reference point of where the engine is vertically, and the belly can be totally flat. So that's kind of an interesting thing to think about as far as packaging and remember. The engine is offset, and this is more for front drive shaft clearance, is the engine is offset to the driver's side about 1.5 inches, I believe. So still makes everything in there packaged pretty well. I mean, it's hecka tight, but it is. So anyways, this is the coil pack ignition module. I made a small bracket that goes and grabs the rear two, if you can see that, grabs the two rear intake bolts. Those are straight up and down, so that works out pretty good. And it was just a pretty simple L bracket that allowed me to tuck the ignition module and the coil in this space just over the top of the valve cover. So that is out of the way, which is really nice. And then the coil wire just runs right around the back and to the post on the distributor. So I really like how that packaged out. So that is this side of the engine taken care of, I think. I did pull the header out, and we'll go over that in a minute, but header's out for right now. We are waiting on a different silicone adapter to try to move the air filter in a slightly different orientation. So that'll be here in the next day or two. Try that out, see if it's any better than the straight one. This one is close, but it means I'm going to have to get a lot fancier with the MAF mount and all that for the air filter and stuff. So that's that. And then just little cleanup stuff. So there's an unused coolant port here that I need to get. This is the right pipe thread, but I need to get. I might be able to use it for a sensor, but either get a plug or use this as an adapter. But that it needs it filled. We made this little bracket yesterday for the throttle cable project. That's in there. Oh, and then the other thing I had to do today was, so this is the stock rail, fuel feed rail, so pressure and return line. The fittings on the back of this were, you can see those back there or not, were hecka tight. I could not get a wrench back in there to get those undone without risking bending this. So I took this whole thing out. It's actually pretty easy. It's just a little stainless. It looks like subassembly. So there's these two little 8mm nuts here. There's a little keeper plate on that comes out, and then there's a 10mm right there. And then you can sneak the rail off the engine. These pull up, and then this comes out. And then I was able to hold everything in kind of a vise arrangement and break those free and inspect and see what those fittings are. So I need to get fittings to adapt from those stock GM fittings, if you will, to fuel line fittings, which will probably be Earl's Vapor Guard. So that is pretty much the engine stuff handled. The only other one does anybody know what this thing is? I'm gonna have to do some Googling, but if anybody knows off the top of their head, is it emissions? Is it required? Can I pull it out? Block it off? Is it like an EGR thing or a heater thing? I honestly don't know without looking. So it definitely has a lot of plug in it. There's like, five plug wires, or a five pin plug. So yeah. Other than that, I think we've cleaned up pretty much everything under here. Oh, I do need to. I did replace the distributor cap. That was cracked from the donor. I think when the vehicle was brought or on a trailer at one point in time, the transfer case wasn't chained up, and it dipped, and then this went into the firewall and cracked the cap out. So I replaced the cap. You can see some pieces of it that I found down in there, and I did a rotor while I was in there, so that's just new stuff. But the only other thing that kind of damaged from that, if you can see, this return line for the power steering pump housing was bent and kinked right there. So I need to pull this power steering pump out, and it's probably a good idea to pull it out and replace it with something a little bit better anyways, for the hydro assist steering. But we'll go over that a little bit later. But I need to get this out and replaced and check on a smaller pulley. Then I can do the belt, the final belt size. The fan's already on there. So this is a thermal clutch fan, steel 17-inch, I believe. And then this is, I made this shroud, and then this was a 22 by 19 radiator that came with the project that we were able to reuse. And then did custom hoses. There was a little bit of size adaptation to do with the ports and stuff, but got all that handled. So yeah. Oh, one little tip. These GM engines have these studs that stick up a lot. So they are like a stud, and they are hecka sharp. And so when you're working around these things, you get all kinds of little cuts on your hands from those. So I just found my pack of vinyl caps, and I'm trying to vinyl cap all of them as I go. You can buy these bulk packs on I don't know if you can see that or not, but you buy these bulk packs of caps on Amazon, and I think they're 150 of them or something like that. There's 5 or 6 different sizes, and so that works really good for that. So yeah, that is the engine stuff. And then I also got the headers. Sounds like the garbage truck's here. Anyways, I got the headers trimmed, so I was able to clamp these to the edge of the table, and then I was actually able to use a PortaBand, which worked perfect almost. So I was able to move that old flange. So these flanges were on here before, and I was able to move those over out of the way enough with a hammer that I could then just saw cut that flange off and leave most of the length, and then clean those up decently and squared them off. And so both of those are done, so they're ready for V-bands. And then I went through and with inside corner wheel on a 4-inch grinder, if you don't know what those are. So this is a inside corner wheel. So these are made to get into 90-degree corners or make grooves or whatever else. They are immensely useful. And then, of course, here's a regular flap disc. But these are super handy. So I was able to go through and make those little clearance grooves I needed for the spark plugs. So that is that. And yeah. So thanks for following along on the Old Blue Willys. That was your update for today. And we'll be back again probably maybe one day this weekend, but definitely on Monday. And yeah, we'll do some more stuff. Thanks for following along. If you have any questions, drop a comment below down here. And if you wouldn't mind, giving the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and then subscribing is always an option. And there's a bell, I think. I think that's all the things. Is that all the things? Am I forgetting anything? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.